The Valkreth Ascension Academy did not believe in coincidence. Every arch, every seat, every line etched into the obsidian lecture amphitheater existed to remind cadets of hierarchy. Species sat by classification. Apex predators to the front. Strategists along the inner ring. Specialists near the back. Humans, adaptive generalists, unremarkable by every official metric, were placed 3 rows from the wall. Mara Ilyen sat straight, hands resting loosely on her knees, eyes forward. She had learned long ago that slouching invited assumptions. So did fidgeting. So did smiling at the wrong time. The amphitheater lights dimmed, and the central dais rose with a hydraulic hiss. Instructor Karzun emerged atop it, towering even by Threxian standards. Forearms folded behind his armored torso. Mandibles flexed once, a gesture that signaled impatience. "Cadets," Karzun said, his voice amplified but calm. "Today we address a myth that continues to surface among lesser military traditions." A ripple of attention moved through the hall. Dual-wielding. Several cadets clicked their mandibles or flicked crests in amusement. Karzun continued. "Across the Council's recorded history, no species has demonstrated sustained, effective dual-weapon melee proficiency with grav-weighted blades." He gestured. A hollow display ignited behind him. Charts, neural scans, failure statistics. "The reason is biological," he said. "Neural symmetry limits parallel motor control. Attempting independent offensive and defensive actions simultaneously results in cognitive delay, loss of balance, or catastrophic overcommitment." Mara followed the data with practiced ease. It wasn't wrong. It was incomplete. Even apex species, Karzun went on, with multiple limbs and enhanced reflexes, abandon dual-wielding under live conditions. Efficiency collapses. His eyes swept the hall. Therefore, the Academy doctrine is clear. No species can dual-wield effectively. Any questions? Silence. Not from agreement. Most cadets simply knew better than to challenge doctrine. Mara raised her hand. The movement was small. It felt loud anyway. Several heads turned. A Veshkari to her left tilted his cranial frills in disbelief. A Krell officer candidate muttered something Mara didn't catch but understood the tone of. Karzun's gaze locked onto her. "You," he said. "State your species and designation." "Mara Ilyen," she replied evenly. "Human. Exchange cadet. Former planetary militia instructor." A pause. The title carried unexpected weight. Not respect, but curiosity. "Proceed," Karzun said. Mara stood. "Instructor, your data assumes mirrored task execution under symmetrical load." Karzun's mandibles twitched. "Correct. Human training doctrine does not," Mara said. "We separate limb authority during asymmetric tasks." A low murmur rippled through the hall. Karzun leaned forward slightly. "Clarify." Mara chose her words carefully. "We don't attempt to make both hands do the same job. We give each a different one." Silence again, thicker this time. Karzun straightened. "Your species lacks the neural density for such partitioning." Mara nodded. "We compensate with training, not biology." A few cadets clicked in laughter. Karzun let it happen. "Human," he said, voice sharpening. "The Academy does not debate established limits based on anecdote." "I'm not offering anecdote," Mara replied. "I'm offering a demonstration." That stopped the laughter. Karzun studied her for a long moment. "You believe you can dual-wield a regulation grav blade?" "Yes." "Two?" he pressed. "Yes." A ripple of disbelief spread openly now. This wasn't just defiance, it was spectacle. "Very well," Karzun said at last. "We will educate." The dais sank. The central floor of the amphitheater irised open, revealing the combat ring below. Training lights flared red. "Cadet Ilyen," Karzun continued, "retrieve 2 regulation swords." Mara descended the steps without haste. The weapons rack recognized her biometrics and released 2 grav-weighted blades. Each was balanced for single-weapon doctrine, deliberately unforgiving. She lifted the first. Felt the weight settle into her shoulder. Then the second. A murmur passed through the observation tier. Even holding both properly was considered inefficient. Mara stepped into the ring. Begin with basic forms, Karzun ordered. Expose the flaw. Mara exhaled once and moved. Her stance was not mirrored. Her left foot angled forward. Right foot half back. One blade held high, edge outward. The other low, reverse grip. She didn't rush. She didn't overextend. She flowed. The first form was simple, deflection with the left, cut with the right. Then reversed. Then neither mirrored the other. The motions were clean, economical. No hesitation. The murmur stopped. Karzun narrowed his eyes. Illusion, he said. Muscle memory without opposition. He gestured sharply. Combat drones dropped from the ceiling. 3 of them. Live engagement parameters, Karzun announced. Non-lethal. Adaptive targeting. The drones activated instantly, hovering into a loose triangle around her. Any final statement, human? Karzun asked. Mara adjusted her grip. Felt the grav shift as the blades sink to combat mass. Yes, she said. She looked up at him, not defiant, not angry. Just certain. Defiant can't. The drones attacked. The first lunged from her blind side. Mara's left blade snapped up, not to strike but to intercept, steel kissing composite with a sharp crack. Her right blade moved at the same time, carving through the second drone's stabilizer. It fell smoking. The third adjusted trajectory mid-flight. Mara shifted, breath steady, eyes tracking 2 threats that no longer existed, because she had already solved the problem. Observers leaned forward. Karzun's mandibles stilled. Mara moved again, faster now, blades no longer separate tools but components of a single adaptive system. The doctrine had never accounted for that. The chapter ended not with impact, but with realization, dawning and irreversible, spreading through the amphitheater as the impossible continued to stand. The second drone came apart in 3 pieces. Not because Mara struck harder, but because it moved exactly the way she expected it to. The combat ring recalibrated instantly. Adaptive targeting meant learning from failure. The remaining drone veered higher, widened its arc, and attacked from above and behind, forcing a cognitive split no doctrine believed possible. Mara felt the shift and welcomed it. Her left hand intercepted without thought. That limb wasn't thinking at all. It reacted, trained through thousands of hours to guard space, not targets. The blade deflected the incoming strike with a controlled roll of the wrist, redirecting momentum instead of absorbing it. Her right hand finished the problem. Steel met drone core. Sparks flared. The machine spiraled into the floor and died. Silence followed, not stunned, not confused. Calculating. Karzun lifted one arm. The drone bays opened again. Escalate, he ordered. 6 drones descended this time. Different configurations. Mixed ranges. One carried a shield emitter. Another projected false motion echoes designed to overwhelm depth perception. Mara exhaled slowly. Good, she thought. They're adapting. The first wave pressed her backward. She yielded space without retreating, rotating her stance to keep one blade high, the other moving low in constant motion. She didn't track every drone, she tracked patterns. Her left blade denied angles. Her right punished mistakes. A Veshkari observer leaned toward his neighbor. She is not splitting focus. No, the other replied quietly. She is delegating it. The drones struck in staggered intervals now, forcing overlapping threats. A shielded unit rushed her center mass while 2 circled wide. Mara stepped into the shield, not away. Her left blade slid across its surface, grounding the emitter. Her right blade pierced through the exposed seam beneath. The shield collapsed. She spun, letting inertia carry the second blade into a rising cut that clipped a circling drone mid-flight. The third adjusted too late. 2 more fell. The crowd had stopped pretending this was amusing. Karzun's eyes flicked to the neural telemetry scrolling beside the ring. Human cognitive load should have spiked into failure zones by now. It hadn't. Explain, he demanded of the systems officer. The officer hesitated. Her neural activity is compartmentalized. Parallel, but not mirrored. That is impossible, Karzun snapped. Then we need a new definition, the officer replied. Mara felt the fatigue begin to creep in, not mental, but physical. Grav-weighted blades punished inefficiency. She adjusted again, shortening her movements, conserving energy. The drones sensed it. They pressed harder. One slipped through and struck her shoulder. Pain flared white-hot. The blade bit shallow but clean. Blood drifted into the air, glittering under combat lights. A collective intake of breath swept the hall. Mara didn't retreat. She slowed. Her breathing deepened. She lowered her center of gravity and changed rhythm entirely. Where before she had flowed, now she became deliberate. Each movement carried intention. The drones hesitated. That was their mistake. She advanced. Left blade feinted high, drawing targeting sensors upward. Right blade scissored low, cutting through stabilizers. She pivoted, letting one drone overshoot, then reverse grip mid-motion to drive steel through its core. 3 down in under 5 seconds. The remaining units attempted synchronized attack. 2 synchronized. Mara exploited the symmetry doctrine worshipped. She broke it. She stepped inside their timing window and moved against expectation. 1 blade static, 1 dynamic. Defense became anchor. Offense became chaos. The final drone crashed into the floor, twitching. The ring lights dimmed to standby. For a long moment, no one spoke. Mara lowered both blades and stood still, blood running down her arm. She didn't look up. She didn't need to. Karzun descended from the dais. You are injured, he said. Yes, Mara replied. You are exceeding safe cognitive thresholds. No, she said calmly. I'm staying inside mine. He circled her, eyes sharp. Your species lacks specialized neural clusters. This should not be sustainable. It isn't, Mara answered. It's adaptable. He stopped in front of her. You claim training replaces biology. I'm saying biology sets a starting point, she replied. Training decides the ceiling. A murmur rippled outward, agreement from places no one expected. Karzun's mandibles flared. This trial proves nothing about battlefield viability. Then test that, Mara said. His gaze hardened. You assume too much. She met his eyes. You assume too little. The command staff conferred rapidly. Data scrolled. Probability models recalculated and failed to stabilize. Finally, Karzun raised one arm. Override safety parameters, he ordered. A sharp intake of breath followed. That authorization had not been issued in decades. Mara looked up sharply. Instructor. You wish to define can't, Karzun said. Very well. The combat ring reconfigured. Barriers retracted. Weapon locks disengaged. Live combat authorization flashed across the displays. Karzun stepped into the ring. 4 arms. 2 blades. Mara tightened her grip despite the pain burning through her shoulder. This wasn't doctrine anymore. It was proof. And the Academy was about to learn the difference. Karzun did not posture when he entered the ring. That alone unsettled the observers. He moved with the certainty of something that had never doubted its place at the top of a hierarchy. 4 arms spread slightly, each gripping a blade tuned to Threxian physiology. Longer, heavier, optimized for overpowering strikes. His stance was wide, anchored, balanced for dominance. Mara faced him with 2 swords that were not built for her. Blood soaked the sleeve of her combat jacket. Her shoulder burned with every breath. She adjusted her footing anyway, narrowing her stance, shifting weight to preserve speed. Yield now, Karzun said. You have proven your anomaly. Mara shook her head once. Not yet. Your species clings to spectacle, he replied. This ends when structure reasserts itself. She met his gaze. Structure breaks when it refuses to adapt. The ring chimed. Live combat began. Karzun struck first, fast despite his size. 2 blades scissored inward, another feinted high, the fourth angled low. A 4-vector assault meant to overload response. Mara didn't block all of it. She sidestepped the low strike, let one blade glance off her left sword, and used the collision to redirect force rather than stop it. Her right blade flicked upward, not to hit flesh but to disrupt timing. Steel rang. The instructor advanced relentlessly. His movements were textbook perfect, every strike efficient, every recovery exact. He wasn't improvising. He didn't need to. Mara retreated in controlled steps, reading him, mapping cadence. She wasn't looking for openings. She was creating them. Karzun pressed her toward the edge of the ring, blades forming a tightening cage. One arm struck, then another, each attack building pressure, forcing reaction. Mara let her left blade go still. The sudden absence of motion broke expectation. Karzun adjusted a fraction too late. Her right blade snapped forward, slashing across one of his weapon arms. The cut wasn't deep, but it was enough. Blood splattered the floor. The hall erupted in sound. Karzun recoiled, mandibles flaring in surprise more than pain. You rely on deception, he growled. I rely on choice, Mara replied. He attacked again, faster now, anger creeping into precision. His strength drove her back, each impact rattling her bones. One strike clipped her ribs. Another tore fabric from her side. Pain sharpened her focus. She changed rhythm again. Instead of retreating, she stepped inside his reach. One blade deflected upward, the other cut low. She twisted, letting momentum carry her past him, then reversed direction entirely. Karzun turned, reacting, but reacting meant following. Mara led. She forced him to commit both upper arms, then punished the gap with a shallow thrust. She didn't linger. She couldn't afford to. The fight slowed. Not in speed, but in perception. Observers began to see it. Karzun's strength dominated space. Mara dominated sequence. She wasn't faster. She wasn't stronger. She was earlier. You are exhausting yourself, Karzun snarled. Yes, Mara said. You are not. He lunged, committing fully for the first time. All 4 blades drove forward in a killing formation meant to end uncertainty. Mara did something Doctrine never anticipated. She dropped one sword. Gasps rippled outward. The freed hand slammed into Karzun's wrist, redirecting one blade while her remaining sword twisted into the opening she had just created. She pivoted, reclaimed the fallen blade mid-motion, and brought both weapons back up in a cross guard at his throat. Steel rested against chitin. Silence fell like gravity. Karzun froze. The combat ring lights shifted to amber. Mara's breathing was ragged now. Blood dripped steadily from her shoulder to the floor. Her arms trembled, not with fear, but fatigue. She held anyway. Slowly, carefully, Karzun lowered his weapons. Impossible, he said quietly. Mara eased back one step, blade still raised. Unmeasured. He looked at her, not as an anomaly now, but as a variable he had failed to account for. The command staff rose as one. Combat concluded, the hall intoned. Medical drones descended, hovering near Mara. She waved them off long enough to meet Karzun's eyes one last time. You taught us limits, she said. Humans study margins. Karzun inclined his head. It was not a bow, but it was close. Doctrine will be amended. The admission carried more weight than applause. Later, as medics sealed her wounds and observers argued over rewritten models, Mara sat on the edge of the ring, blades resting across her knees. A junior cadet approached hesitantly. Instructor Ilyen, how did you know it would work? Mara considered the question. I didn't, she said. I trained so it wouldn't matter. Above them, the Academy's archives updated automatically. A new entry appeared beneath combat classifications. Human combat doctrine, adaptive parallelization, Status, under review. Mara leaned back, eyes closing briefly. She had not come to dismantle doctrine. She had come to remind the galaxy of something it had forgotten. Can't, she murmured, almost smiling. Is just a hypothesis.